So today I've been contemplating the hardest lesson I've learned in the last 25 years of non-duality. And I came to the conclusion that there were a few, main ones, the hardest lessons I've learned. But I think the one that I'm going to talk about today is the realization that non-duality takes all of your life. I know that sounds weird because in the end, non-duality is life, is all of it. So how could it take your life? But I mean more from the human side of things, that I think in the beginning I expected to have this awakening, have this shift that the teacher spoke about, and then to be able to live a regular life in society and achieve my dreams and my goals, my aspirations. And and there's this moment where it's not even a moment, it's like a repetition of that becomes an impossibility. So after you have the shift, I found that if I don't follow the flow, so if I don't follow God, which is myself, or if I don't follow the divine, or if there isn't the movement from the divine, then you could say there is an experience of karma. And what I mean by that is that if I do something that isn't in line with my true self, then there are repercussions of it. Whereas when I act from the true self, it's like everything vanishes into emptiness, into spaciousness, into what we truly are. But when I act, I suppose, from old seeking patterns or old ideas, then there is the experience of karma. And generally I experience that as physical pain in the body. So I'll give you an example of it. If I'm in a social situation where people are putting up their masks, and in order for me to continue being in that social situation, I too have to put up a mask and not be authentic, like absolutely authentic to God's will, to the way that life is moving through this instrument, then there is physical pain that's experienced. And also some mental, psychological pain sometimes, and then old karmas coming up as well. And so there's a realization that any ideas of the way that Lisa wants her life is out the door. It really is moment by moment, like what flow wants, like what the divine, the spirit, whatever you call it, that energy wants. And it's like complete surrender of any personal will. And so it's that's will, it's life's will. And the great thing about the experience of karma is that any old ideas, any old seeking patterns, any old Lisa dynamics gets exposed. So through the pain of it, through the difficulties that doing that brings up, it exposes things that are not true, or things in this body, old habits or ways of being in this body. Yeah, and I experience this in all areas of life. There has to be a complete commitment to this. And over the years, it's like more and more things leave. Until it's just the divine acting. So Lisa's will, this time-bound will, this idea, this goal, these dreams begin to fade. Because yeah, you really have to in every moment do exactly as the energy feels. And the planning, so say the planning of an idea of say a career or a lover or a travel, like any planning of that, there has to be an openness to that. Yeah, in that moment you might not be able to complete that, you might not be able to do that, like you, because that divine energy, yeah, doesn't want that in that moment. I mean, it's really beautiful because it means that more and more this bundle of energy just becomes a movement of the divine. But along the way, it's hard because you're like, and that, and that, everything. I have to give you everything. It reminds me, of this really beautiful story I heard Ananda Mahima tell her followers. And it's of this sadhu. And this sadhu was so desperate to see Krishna. All the other sadhus had seen Krishna, but he had never seen Krishna, and he devoted his whole life to Krishna. Then one day after alms, which I believe is like going and begging for food, he got his food, and then he looked in the distance and he was like, is that Krishna? Is that Krishna coming this way? And he sort of stared and he couldn't believe it. And he was like, is Krishna walking towards me? And he was sure that it was someone else. But Krishna walked right up to him and stood in front of him. And he was like, he couldn't speak, like Krishna had appeared to him. And then Krishna said, give me your food. And the sadhu was like, this is a trick. He's God, he's Krishna, he has everything. I'm a sadhu who has nothing and has just been given food and hasn't eaten the whole day. And now Krishna wants to take it away. So he sort of like looks at his bowl, looks at Krishna, and he's like, this is a trick. Krishna is trying to trick me. So the sadhu reaches in, he takes 1 grain of rice from his alms and he gives it to Krishna. And then Krishna leaves and he's like, I can't believe it. I saw Krishna and I gave him 1 grain of rice. And then he looked down into his bowl and he realized where he'd removed that grain of rice was a diamond, was a jewel. And he was like, I should have given him the whole bowl. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, lots of love. I really wish you everything.